Hi Rose, good morning. Thank you for coming and thank you for showing Rocca di Montegrossi to your followers. And I'm very happy to introduce Rocca di Montegrossi and myself. I'm Marco Ricasoli, I'm the producer of Rocca di Montegrossi here in Gaiole in Chianti, so the historical district of the Chianti Classico area. More specifically, we're in Monti in Chianti. Monti in Chianti is a subzone of Gaiole, very well known to be one of the most interesting districts, not only in Chianti Classico but all over Tuscany, because it's an area where the microclimate, the terroir, the land, it fit everything perfect to help us to produce really top wine, wine that can age for a very long time, wine of great finesse, great elegance, but at the same time also wine that has structure and depth. So all combination that I think can really help our fan their buy and enjoy a wine to enjoy until the end of the bottle without to be bored by happen sometime wine that are really too heavy with only structure. Our wine really show great finesse, great freshness, good acidity, and sometimes I told you structure. So now we are here and we can see this beautiful land of Rocca di Montegrossi and San Marcellino. Actually, this it is San Marcellino cellar, church, I'm sorry. And the vineyards of our winery, they're all around the cellar. So very important for me to control well the vineyards and to see everything's fine, how they do the workers, and so this it's really helping for me, because at the end I consider myself like the director, because when you produce your wine in a small winery, because Rocca di Montegrossi is 20 hectares of vineyards plus around 12 of olive trees. You know, it's important. You have to manage to do a little bit everything. Of course, I have people who help me in this project, and but it's important that the vineyards are all around. This it's very helping for me. My family produced wine for a very long time. We can say that now we are the 37th generation producing wine, so really a very long time. And in the middle of the 19th century, my ancestor Bettino Ricasoli was the person who has invented the Chianti Classico recipe. That one that's still here in Rocca di Montegrossi we are using for produce our Chianti Classico wine. We blend the Chianti Classico only with indigenous grapes, but great terroir like that one Monti Chianti, I believe can give incredible quality also with not necessary indigenous grapes. This is the reason why we produce Super Tuscan, let's say, with Merlot Cabernet with no Sangiovese, because I'm not really crazy to the formula of Sangiovese with Merlot, Cabernet, wherever. I like Sangiovese itself or Sangiovese with indigenous grapes. Now let's go to taste the wine and to talk about each single gem that we produce. Here we are. We start the tasting, so the most important and more interesting side, of course, when you come to visit a winery. Rosato, it's a wine that I really care a lot, like all my wine I should say, but Rosato even more probably, because sometimes people they don't consider Rosato a true interesting wine, and I think probably they have this idea because there are very few interesting Rosato. When a Rosato or Rosé, if you prefer to say in a French way, is well done, not easy to find a well done Rosato. I think it's a very interesting, so charming wine, and so a wine that you can enjoy with a lot of different kind of food. because it's an easy wine drinking, but when it's well done, has a nice structure as well, and not sweet, of course, because many rosato, sometimes they have a big residual sugar, so they have a kind of sweetness in your mouth. It's not really enjoyable. Our rosato is dry. It's produced only by Sangiovese grapes, 100%, coming from all the vineyards. So not only young vineyards, but also the very old vine like San Marcellino, that is a 50 years old vine. The grapes are picked in the roughly first 3 weeks of September, when they're not totally mature. We pick the grapes and in many different days, obviously. We press a little the bunch, and we let the juice in contact with the skin for half an hour, roughly, just the time they take a little color from the skin, and then in a steel tank to ferment. The wine, actually the juice at the beginning, fermenting for 3 weeks at low temperature. That means around 16 Celsius degrees instead of 28, just to let understand the difference for red wine. So low temperature, because that way we can keep the flavors, the aroma of the wine. High temperature will destroy the flavors of rosato, because rosato has everything but in small proportions. So we have to be able to keep all what it has from the first beginning and to bring in the bottle and after in the glass. After fermentation, we keep the wine for 3 months. The wine in contact with the lees. We lower the temperature just to avoid maybe not clean flavors that could be contaminated by the sediment of the bottom of the tank. And then in February, we bottle the wine. Our rosato, I should say, it is a wine that need a few months before to start to give his best. It's beautiful even from the beginning of the spring, but even after 6-8 months, this wine is still beautiful. Actually, I think the best for our rosato is to enjoy after 1 year. This it is really the best. It's a wine you can keep for 2-3 years, I should say. After little by little, we start to show some oxidation and to lose some of the flavors and the taste from his original quality. Very nice flavors, aroma of raspberry and strawberry. And the wine, you can start to feel, appreciate the characteristic of the terroir of Monti in Chianti. So good acidity, good minerality because of the stones and the limestone, as I told you before, a nice structure. So wine you can enjoy with cheese, with white meat, with any kind of vegetables, pasta, with fish like salmon or like swordfish, so more tasty fish. Ham, charcuterie, all these things. So basically with almost everything, I should say, because this wine has a nice structure, as I told you. So it's a very flexible, let's say, and it's super enjoyable, believe me. Cheers. Now, we are to the Chianti Classico, Annata, but I like to define this wine the battleship, because it's the wine that represents all the wineries. It's not by top quality like the next wine, so San Marcellino, Geremia, but it is a wine very important to me because it's a wine where our customers should understand how we care about the quality of all of the wine, not only the top one, but even starting from the entry level, so the battleship. And it is a wine that sometimes can surprise the people how good it is. Sorry if I'm not very modest, but it's a wine that really also aged quite well. Even if I should say that the 99.9% of people buying this wine, they open the bottle straight away. But I should say happens sometime every year they receive a couple of emails or 2-3 emails from people that they discover by mistake that a few bottles has been left in the cellar. maybe after they discover after 7, 8, 10 years. And they think this wine is not anymore drinkable, but actually probably it's on the peak. So they enjoy so much, they've been so happy, and they want to tell us how happy they've been open our simple wine, but at the end it's not so simple. It's a wine produced by Sangiovese mainly. It's depend the vintage, but something around 90%. And we blend two indigenous grape variety, very typical of the Chianti Classico recipe. So that one of my ancestor Marco Ricasoli. So Canaiolo and Colorino. Colorino, you can understand what it does. Colorino, color. So you add a little bit more color. Even if Sangiovese here in Monti in Chianti, because of the limestone, rich in calcium, help to fix the color of all the grape varieties. Sangiovese as well. So Sangiovese here has even a more deep ruby color compared to other area in Chianti Classico. But Colorino helped to give a little bit more of the color as well. And Canaiolo. Canaiolo is a more interesting grape variety because it has more different interesting aspect from the flavors, from the softness. It has a very soft round tannin, so helps to round a little faster the tannin of Sangiovese. And especially it is aromatic grape variety, so a little bit very interesting flavors. Around 7-8% of Canaiolo, 3% of Colorino, and 90% of Sangiovese. Age for, depend the vintage, but something around 1 year in big barrel of Allier oak and concrete vat. Then we bottle the wine and we keep 6 months before to release. 18 was a beautiful vintage, so very happy about the 18 vintage. And now this wine has more than 1 year in the bottle. So let's say it's not still a little young, but really start to show extremely well. 18 was the vintage, very well balanced. So not too warm, not too cold, the rain at the right time. I think it's a vintage where if a producer has produced a bad wine, probably have to think seriously to change his job, because 18 was really very classy vintage, very well balanced, and the wine are very well balanced. Nice fruit because it was not too warm, and a nice structure at the same time, always a good acidity and minerality like all our wine. Yes, I think 18 really showed what I told you before. It's a wine, as I told you, I like to talk about my battleship wine like a passepartout. I say it is a wine good for any occasion. Could be something simple, easy, but at the same time also an interesting and nice dinner as well, because there is a shoulder, so there is a bone, so there is a good structure to hold important dishes. To enjoy during the meal. So cheers as well. Cheers again, sorry. So now we are to if before actually we taste the battleship, now we are to the flagship. So we have all the ships. And so the most important wine, because it's San Marcellino, Vigneto San Marcellino, Chianti Classico obviously, Gran Selezione, so the top in the quality, in the pyramid of the quality of the Chianti Classico rules, and it's a single vineyard, very old vine. We talk about 50, there are two parcels, one, the original one of 50 years old, and the new one, actually it's not so new because we talk still of vineyards 25 years old. We produce this wine only in top vintages, and here we have the 15 vintage, so 2015, and now I want to try with you this wine, and let's see how it is. So, beautiful color, already we can see that the color is amazing, deeper, of course, compared to the battleship, and as I told you, only old vine, Sangiovese, but not only Sangiovese, there is also few drops of Pugnitello. Pugnitello is a very old indigenous grapes, not only of Chianti Classico, but also of Tuscany tradition. A grape that it was almost abundant because produced very little quantity. Quality is outstanding, but unfortunately produced very little. The wine, the name of the grapes comes from pugno, that means fist in Italian, pugno, so pugnitello, because the shape of the bunch is like a small fist. So this is the origin of the name. Then I have my personal idea that the name comes because you can hold in your fist very few berries, because every vine can produce maximum 300, 400. Difficult to achieve a half kilo of berries in total from each vine. So this is the reason why in the 60s, the 70s, Pugnitello it was abundant, because not interesting to produce such a little amount of grapes. At those time, the producer was looking more for quantity. Now, Pugnitello is coming back. Not so many wineries grow Pugnitello because still the problem is there. But nowadays, producers are more interested in quality instead of quantity. For sure, here in Rocca di Montegrossi. So Pugnitello, to my opinion, is the top indigenous grapes in the Chianti Classico recipe, and this is the reason why I add in small proportion in San Marcellino. Here we talk about a very important wine in terms of structure, of depth, of longevity. It's a wine dependent vintages. Can age from 15 to 20, even more years in the bottle from the bottle time, and it's a wine that has a very really full body. But when we talk about full body in Rocca di Montegrossi, in Monti in Chianti, so the subzone talking before of Gaiole in Chianti district, we don't talk about heavy wine. A wine that are never heavy because they have always good acidity, they refresh, give lightness to your mouth. So this structure that this wine is showing you in the mouth is only a feeling of pleasure, of happiness, gratification while you drink the wine, because it fills your mouth, but the acidity in a way rinses your mouth to be able, your mouth, to appreciate the flavors and the taste of the food. So this is a secret of enjoying wine and food together. The wine should allow your mouth to be immediately ready to taste other aspects of the food as well. This wine has been aged for 25 months in barrique and tonneau, so a small barrel, and then we age for 2 years in the bottle before to release. We do almost the double of the minimum required from Gran Selezione rules of Chianti Classico. The reason why I do that, because I wish that our customer, they can enjoy this wine not when it's ready, but at least when he can start to release some of his quality. 15, another very beautiful vintage. It was warm in July. The 3 weeks in July was horribly warm, I should say, and I was very worried about the warm. Luckily, when the worm arrive in June or July, doesn't make a problem for the quality of the wine. And luckily, at the end of July, the weather has changed quite a lot in Chianti Classico, I should say, in the north, in the center and north of Tuscany. We have an August cloudy with some rain, and the temperature really not collapsed, was still warm, but not so warm as before. So it was important for the grape to recover and to be damaged the fruit from the heat. So this was all August, was like that, and September we faced beautiful weather with what will you wish maybe when you come to visit us in Tuscany. So a little warm during the day and cool during the night. Perfect for our grapes as well, and for the tannin to make more soft and silky. Exactly. So we can say that the tannin now are ready 100%. You have to wait maybe 1 hour. The oxygen help the tannin to be more soft, but still now, after 3 years in the bottle, they show fantastic sweetness, the tannin, and the softness. Even if, of course, it's still young, so you feel the tightness. It's normal when we talk with Sangiovese, and in the tasting, because with food, has this wine, all my wines should be enjoyed with food, helped immediately to round to round the tightness that you can have in the beginning of the wine. You should never pretend that the wine is ready immediately, especially when the wine are produced and not made. That means the wine is produced by only the grapes of the producer in his vineyards, and the terroir make wine here that they need time before to develop in an interesting way, because we don't buy wine, we don't buy grapes for all our wine. They're all coming from our vineyards, 100%. So they really taste of the characteristics of the specific terroir of Monti and Chianti. And the wine are, let's say, a little lazy. They take their time before they show their great quality. More you wait and better they become. Of course, you have to wait, you have to keep the wine the right temperature in the right way. So as I told you, San Marcellino has a great depth, and really still now, after a couple of minutes that I swallow the wine, still the taste is there. It's really beautiful and really promising for extra 12, 15 years of aging. Salute. Now, the Super Tuscan, the IGT, and Geremia 15. So this wine is produced by Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. As I said before, there are two great grapes growing extremely well here in Rocca di Montegrossi, and but I think to blend, I don't like to blend those grapes in Sangiovese. We could in Chianti Classico, because Chianti Classico recipe, it is at least 80% of Sangiovese till 100%. So we have a 20% of freedom, let's say. And I like to use my freedom only with indigenous grapes, with Sangiovese, for Chianti Classico. But I think Merlot Cabernet, they're growing very well here. Cabernet with Punitello, I think they are the two grape varieties that they keep the quality every year in an extraordinary way. Merlot, it's a grape that I plant on the slope quite high, the highest one. This hill, it's lasted more than 500 meters of altitude. Very important for the Merlot, because in that way it doesn't get only concentrated, but it has all the time to can mature the grapes slowly, and very important because that way you can really release not only structure, because a wine with only structure is boring and heavy, but also with great flavors, great finesse, and great tannin. It's Geremia 15 is produced by 85% of Sangiovese, 15% Cabernet Sauvignon, so it's a majority of Merlot. And it's a wine that I think it shows the characteristic of Gaiole in Chianti or Monti in Chianti in a different way compared to Sangiovese, of course, obviously, in terms of flavors, of characteristic of the grape that are totally different compared to Sangiovese, but the terroir, the characteristic, the main characteristic by the terroir are the same one. So still great minerality, this spiciness given by the stones, you can really feel in the nose, on the nose, of graphite, of iron, for instance, and acidity. So great acidity that really refresh, give light into the wine. So wine, again, like San Marcellino, with great structure, great depth, a very long finish, absolutely not heavy style at all, no chewy let's say that when you swallow again, your mouth is clean immediately by the acidity, and you don't have a feeling that something is heavy, something is boring. Actually, I really describe my wine like very dangerous wine, because you can finish the bottle very quickly because the structure doesn't transform in something heavy. This is very important to me, because when I enjoy wine with the food, for my dinner, for my lunch, I don't wish to have something that make heavy the taste of the wine in my mouth, that I get bored to enjoy this wine. I want to stop drinking because I don't want to drink too much, obviously, but not that I don't want to continue to drink this wine because it's too heavy, too thick, that my mouth it doesn't enjoy it. You know, this is very important. Only the terroir gives these characteristics. This is the reason why we don't buy wine, we don't buy grapes, because we want to keep this specific characteristic, I think very important in wine, coming from our terroir. This wine is aged in barrique and tonneau as well for 24 months, and we keep in the bottle in 2 years before to release as well, like San Marcellino, so the Chianti Classico. Yeah, so the fruit, as I told you before, very different compared to Sangiovese. We talk more about little berry, little white berry, and with a chocolate flavors hint, licorice. So different compared to Sangiovese, but again, as I told you before, Monti Chianti is there. Is a wine that I like to say Gaioleggia, so from Gaiole, the district. So it tastes of Gaiole. Even more precisely, Monteggia, so from Monti. So the little village close to our cellar, they give the name to the subzone where we grow our vineyards, so Monti Chianti. Cheers, and I hope you will enjoy this wine, Jeremiah, very soon. Now, the Vinsanto. And Vinsanto di Rocca di Montegrossi is considered very, very special. Very, very special. And please hold on a second, just one up, because I want to show you something very important. Please remember to keep in mind. In our Vinsanto, forbidden these barbaric things of dipping biscuits. And because when we talk about really high quality, you ruin the beauty of this wine, the flavor, the taste, deep in something. It's really maybe only the very low quality wine, but my suggestion is to never drink low quality. You know, only high quality. This is the best. Water is cheap. Now the last kids of the family, Vinsanto Rocca di Montegrossi. This is wine that I really care a lot, like all my wine, but Rosato and Vinsanto, that one where I put even more energy of the other one in a way. Because Rosato, as I said before, is a wine that some people, they don't consider interesting wine, and I think it's not true at all, depend the quality. When Rosato is well done, it's a very interesting wine to enjoy, not only actually in the warm season, but also in winter, depend which kind of food you decide to have for your lunch and dinner. And dessert wine as well, because it's not easy to find high quality dessert wine, and Vinsanto as well, because all the dessert wine require a lot of work. A lot of work there is behind for what? For very few hundred or very few thousand bottles. So not many producers invest time, energy and money at the end to produce their own dessert wine. This is the reason why there are so many not interesting Sauterne or so interesting Rocciotto or Passito or Vinsanto. There are very few. And maybe this is the reason why there is this tradition. I don't like to talk about tradition, but of dipping biscuit with Vinsanto, because many Vinsanto are not so interesting, and this is why maybe people they dip biscuit. But with our Vinsanto is totally forbidden. Totally forbidden because you can't enjoy the beauty of this wine. It's a wine that requires maybe at least 10-15 minutes to describe all what is behind. I will try to be as soon as possible brief, but you know, it's a wine that we start to release after 10, 11 years. So to describe, to tell you all what happened these 10, 11 years is different in a very short time. But let's start by the grapes, only Malvasia grapes. The grapes we hang and we don't put on the straw rack, but we hang on nets that we can move in the way that we can have the space between the nets to remove the berry heated by the bad mold, because what we're looking for is only a specific kind of mold, the Botrytis cinerea, a noble rot, let's say. In that way, we can really help to develop only that kind of mold. Very interesting for the flavor, the taste of the wine. Also because give glycerin, very important for the structure of the wine, for the softness of the wine. And when all the berries are hidden and covered by this special mold that has a brown color, we press the grapes. This happened at the end of December or most of the time in January. We press the grapes, and very difficult to obtain the juice from those grapes because it looks like raisin actually. So they lost almost 50% of the water inside the berries. And the juice obtained, I put in a steel tank. This it is another of the many differences compared to the other producers. In a steel tank with 10 degrees of temperature, in the way that by gravity he lose the dust, let's say, the sediment away. Because I wish to put the juice they obtain in this small barrel called Caratelli, made by mulberry, cherry, and oak. So the same small barrel of 50 and 100 liters. So the same. The steves made by different kind of wood, so not a barrel of oak, a barrel of mulberry and cherry, but all together, you know, the same barrel. We put the juice and we keep for 7 years. The first 3 years or sometimes 4 years during the summer is fermenting. So this is the reason why I don't want this sediment, because it can contaminate the flavors, the taste of the wine. So I prefer that it is clean inside the barrel. I think it's very important that the cellar is clean and everything is clean. It's very important for the final result in every wine. In the Vinsanto even more probably. After 3-4 years, doesn't ferment anymore because the yeast are killed by the alcohol produced by the wine, so it can't ferment anymore. We fill the barrel of more Vinsanto, so we take some barrel to fill the other one. Not totally, we still leave, let's say, 2 fingers in the barrel of space inside. And we keep for other 4 years because it's important for the wine to find a little bit more concentration and depth and thickness, let's say. So this is why I prefer to keep other years. After 7 years, we taste all the barrel again, and this is a very interesting, important time of the year. We blend all the barrel, they are fine, there is any defect that could happen sometime. And we bottle the wine and we keep 3 years the bottle before to release. Is the wine you can see also pouring, it's really thick, it's really dense, because of course all these very long process make more concentration of the wine with high residual sugar. But this is a secret of Rocca di Montegrossi Vinsanto. Thick doesn't mean heavy. Again, great acidity in the wine that make this wine very fine, very fresh, and very attractive. Really, it's a wine to enjoy with no hurry. All the wine, I should say, but maybe Vinsanto even more. at the end of the meal with a cheese, could be a blue cheese, could be a gorgonzola, speaking about Italian cheese, or simply even a Parmigiano Reggiano. They make a little contrast, the saltiness with the sweetness of the wine, or a crème brûlée. There is a foie gras. There is a lot of interesting combination. Maybe like tartatin, something with apple, with pear, with a caramelized pear. Very interesting. You can find a lot of different kind of dessert that can go well with this wine, even on its own. This it is not an exception where enjoying wine with the food, I think, could be acceptable, extremely enjoyable. It's a wine that when you drink, it will last for at least 5-6 minutes. But again, your mouth, when you swallow, it's refreshed by the acidity. So it's not boring. And the sweet doesn't affect your mouth. This is very important, because the sweetness really lasts in your mouth, quickly will be boring and heavy. Really a symphony. Really a symphony of a lot of different kind of flavors. We talk mainly about dry fruit flavors, from figs, from nut, from dry apricots, raisin, honey. There is a lot of really, even coffee. There is a lot of different kind of flavors. Never ending, so enjoyable. It's really wine to enjoy and to try at least once in your life. Cheers.